the most important idea to understand, or at least one of the most important ideas, actually the most, no doubt about it, the most important idea to understand is the idea of wholeness, the idea of oneness, be that within the community or within an individual. This idea is obviously explored. Well, I'd say everyone has this internal impulse to explore that idea. I'm struggling to say that it's on some level or another. I think that would be, without a doubt, the number one desired thing for any individual is to search within and to be one with yourself. Everyone has this incredible need for purpose and meaning, and it's all favorite book. And this one, this right here, getting this book, as well as the individual who introduced me to it, I'd struggle to explain and describe how grateful I am for that experience. It was an immediate connection, both with the now a dear, 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 fucking dear friend of mine who gave me this book, as well as with the book itself. So I could try to explain what is it about. It would be easier to explain or to describe the experience I've had with this book, because if I start talking about what this book contains, it will take me forever. And that's not what I'm intending to do today specifically. So I'm just going to talk about my experience about this book. I don't understand how everyone on the fucking planet doesn't talk about this book. It's a masterpiece. It's an absolute... Reading this book was a humbling experience, because I told my friend that I'm not easily impressed by books. Not with... I'm the least egotistical person on the planet. The least. But it is true. It's hard for me to be impressed by a book or by ideas that are in it. But this book humbled me from the first, I didn't even get to the first page. I just read the quote right here, which I'm going to translate from Russian. It says, and I apologize for perhaps not the most, what would you say, literature appropriate translation, but I only wanted to try to live by that which was coming out of me, was trying to get out of me on its own. Why was it that difficult? I also connected immediately through the backside, which just says, again, it's in Russian, but I'm going to translate. So this story of a young man growing up and becoming a man, and story of how he, with each step, went further and further from hypocritical norms of morals of community. I mean, come on. And more and more clearly was opening for himself deep, dark eye. Free, just that there. Free, untamable. In his mission, he received a help of a mysterious friend. Please do not, when I'm going to read this part, first impression I had personally was, this is some mystical bullshit or whatever. No, trust me. It's as pure and clean and about life and meaning of life, and that life is meaning. It's about God as much as it gets, honestly. So he gets help of a mysterious friend, Damian, who wears a mark of Cain. That's from some religious story that was mentioned in the book. A devil or a mysterious godlike creature, so to speak. Or perhaps something that is in its origin from imagination of the main hero. That's just the beginning. And then the beginning of the book, I didn't even open the fucking thing, okay? Now let's get to the beginning, shall we? So to tell my story, I should start from long time ago, so to speak. I'm just translating like as quickly as I can just to get the main points across. And I should have, if it was possible, go way back in the very first years of my childhood and even further. Now, this is the part where I connected already before I opened the book. But this is the part where I had that feeling of, I hope this kind of connection and this level, I hope he doesn't disappoint me, which is the same kind of a feeling I received from the friend of mine, a dear friend of mine who gave me this book. It was like, I hope he's as fucking awesome as I currently believe and know he is. So this is it. This is where you're just hoping that the book will keep the plank up. And it does. I'm telling you, there was one moment, which I'm going to return to, where I started doubting, is it going to keep the plank up? Is it not? It did. Every line, I'm telling you, every line connects like nobody's business. It's incredible. I don't understand how in the fuck isn't everyone talking about this book. I just don't get it. I swear. So this part, right? I fell in love with it. I'm genuine. I'm not kidding you. I really fell in love with this book. It was an incredible experience. And so writers, when they write novels, they act as if they're God and as if they can grasp and understand a human story, depict it in a way, depict it as if it was told by God himself. And this is immediately when I know I'm going to connect to this hermano essay right here. Because he's humble. It's not just about humble, man. He really understands there's a real scientific statistic, right? The more intelligent people are, the more they are likely to underestimate their intellectual capabilities, and the less smart people are, the more likely they are to overestimate their level of intellect. It's an actual statistic, and I know it's hilarious if you're hearing it for the first time. I laughed too. So that moment I told you about, I mentioned, that moment when I doubted, am I going to connect with the author on this one? There a little bit of doubt creeped in, which is a healthy experience. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure, but perhaps Hermann Hesse really did this on purpose. Perhaps. Because the amount of understanding that this man has that you get, I could literally open any page and just start reading and you will freak the fuck out. It's connects like nobody's business. It does. And so there was a moment where a little bit of doubt started to creep in, and I started to think, okay, am I going to connect with the author on this one? It was a moment where he said, and I quote, not directly, but approximately, that we have no will. We can't choose our will. And that was like, okay, there was obviously going to be a moment where I'm going to disconnect with the author, but at the same time, the level of connection I've had them up until that point made me think, nah, this ain't it. It can't be it. And I started thinking, processing my feelings, exactly. But then I also just continued reading, And the moment where the doubt of, am I going to disconnect with the author here, completely turned into the moment of the biggest connection, because I've learned. There's not a lot of times except if it's science or something I just don't know, I learn a new knowledge, like of life. Except for, there's few exceptions. There's David Goggins. There are these exceptional individuals who've done exceptional things. There's scientists. There's obviously science that I don't know. I'm quite an uneducated motherfucker. But this moment right here, it just turned into the moment of biggest connection, because I've learned a new perspective on will. And I don't know how exactly to share it with you without spoiling the thing. But I would just say, if instead of listening to fucking me, just go and read the book. Trust me, it's way better than me sitting here and talking about it. Perhaps this will be a fun experience if you have read the book. But this moment was, so this is somewhat of a spoiler, so be ready. So the author said, not the other, so in the book it goes, we don't have our will. Demian says this to the protagonist, to 𝚎𝚘𝚏𝚒 in the book. He says this to him, like, we don't have the will. And I was like, nah, man, this is it, because we obviously do have will. At that time I already knew about that part of the brain Andrew Huberman talked about, anterior mid-singular cortex. That's it. I knew the incredible science behind it. I've lived by literally just Goggins, pure Gogginsery, for many years at that point, and changed my life completely. So I was like, nah. The perspective the author gave me was absolutely absolutely incredible. The perspective was, we have internal will already set in there. It's already there. And instead of us trying to, like, some people are so stupid, man, it's unbelievable, and they really try to push their perspective on other people, and that's it doesn't correlate, it doesn't connect immediately unless you're ignorant, just as those people who are trying to spread this ignorant ass information. But I'm talking about people who talk about life having no meaning. Let's just not talk about that, right? So, yeah, life has infinite meaning, obviously. And in the darkest moments, it should be obvious. But the way the author described the meaning and the inherent meaning and purpose that we're supposed to go after, and that we, like it's in us, it was the most incredible thing, one of the most incredible things I've heard. I'm talking, the rabbit hole perspective from Far Cry 3 to Goggins' experience through going through Navy SEAL training and marathons and whatnot, that level stuff. It was mind-blowing. It was completely changed the perspective on how I saw things permanently. It isn't so much that that belief was totally and utterly alien to me. It was that I discovered it to a whole nother level that was previously unknown to me. It was unbelievable. It was this perspective. We have this will, God, and purpose inside of us. And it isn't so much that it's like life is so empty and it's like so hard to find it. What happens instead is actually that will is all the time. It's within us and it's trying to guide us, this guiding conscious. The idea that I fell in love completely with it, the idea of God, obviously, and not the idea of God, God. And the way Goggins talked about this guiding conscious, author gives a whole new perspective that is completely unique. And the level to which he described this really shows that he did do the exploration to the real, authentic, true work ethic level of just finding and searching and grinding. I know for a fact this man has grinded his ass off, because to have this knowledge that he mentioned here, it's you can't find it by just thinking. You obviously had to go through a lot and go through actively attack. It was incredible, mind changing. This book was a psychedelic experience. Please get your hands on this book. I'm telling you right now. One of the experiences. So before you jump in the water, your mind is immediately starts fucking with you. It gives you all this incredibly backed up information on why this isn't worth it, and why it's not going to be interesting or fascinating, and how it isn't fun, and all that stuff. And so, so before you jump in the water, your mind starts to tell you all this incredibly obviously backed up information on why it's not going to be fun and you shouldn't be doing it, and so on and so forth. It starts to not just not suppose why it's going to be fun, but it tells you directly that it isn't going to be fun. And I don't think that's how our minds are supposed to function. That's one of the other majorly important ideas, is that I don't believe we're supposed to be weak. I think not just somewhere along the line as we were coming up as a civilization, not just once, not twice, not 3 fucking times, thousands and thousands and hundreds of mistakes, not just mistakes, major fuck ups, have led to what we have now, in the world we have now, in the community we have now. And it is what you see it all the time. You talk to normal people, you talk to normal human beings who just want to train and pray and be happy and love and build a family and have a farm, go to town every once in a while with their kids. And it's everyone almost gets surprised to realize that you're an actual human being, because everyone is this, that. They're so unique. And everyone isn't unique, because the only way to be unique is to try and try and try, and to fail and fail and fail and fail repeatedly, to search for yourself. It's going to be difficult, cold, lonely, hard. I'm obviously not talking about myself as a person to learn any of this from. You should just read the book and go to Goggins, straight up. But my spin, my perspective on this is, life is way more meaningful and purposeful and wonderful than people talk about. It's this idea, this hope that people have to reunite with God, with themselves, with purpose, with meaning. Everyone misses something, and they don't try, and this and that. But I think it's important we try to be human beings, towards ourselves and toward others as well. It's extremely important. And so, in particular, this thing I just talked of, right? About this book and the experience it had, it was humbling. You get into the cold water, it's the same. You're like, oh my God, I've been just living in this cage of fear, and I haven't been doing things. Anytime you do a hard thing, this is so interesting. This is fascinating. Every time you do a thing that is hard to do, that is difficult, that is challenging, that is scary, that is uncomfortable, you get this, your whole system freaks out and it's like, why the fuck am I not doing more of this? Why am I not pushing my limits? Why am I not trying to be better? And every time you do, it opens up a whole world that you didn't want to discover just because it wasn't easy or it was scary. And people just live their lives that way. I don't want to live my life that way. I have a lot of things to fix about myself. And I know a lot of people do also, which is important to know, to not think of yourself as less than others, which is a big struggle, was a big struggle for me, is a big struggle. Not so much now, almost not at all, but still is a struggle. And so every time you do this thing that was difficult, that was uncomfortable, you're like, why am I not doing this more often? This is recreation. I'm telling you, this book right here was a psychedelic experience. It was completely mind-blowing, and so was every time I went into the cold water when I didn't want to go, and so was every run, so was every time I did a difficult thing. But then you go back into your old ways, and I don't think that's how we're supposed to be as human beings. I think it's just clear by the way society functions currently, by the way individuals function, is we're sick. We're so sick. Everyone is. And I think we need to make sure we heal, make sure there's more wholeness and unity within community. Unity within community, there's your bars. But anyway, and within individuals as well. The best description of reason for addictions and reason for destructive behaviors people do, and reason for this need for escapism I've ever heard. And also the best explanation of trauma was from this guy, 𝙴𝚎𝚞𝚌𝚆. It's basically quite simple. If you take an injury, it's a separation in the tissue. You look at a tissue, it's got separated, be it a broken bone or something with your skin. If you take a disease, well, the system gets disrupted. How does cancer happen? This one cell breaks off the communication. I apologize if I'm not totally biologically correct right now, but this one cell breaks off the communication, from what I remember, to other cells, which is why they can't destroy it, and it starts to spread out. And thus you get cancer. And there's this also incredible doctor whom I'm also going to leave because it's important for people to see, that left his job, that just went, and he was a top tier surgeon, I think, in America. And he just left and said, no, I'm not going to do this, because he realized he's not solving the source of the problem, which is people get sick from stress, from the way they live their lives, from not having social lives. He spoke about this. He literally noticed himself that people who have less social lives, who eat a certain way and smoke and drink, they just die sooner and they get sick. And if they do get sick, they recover slower. And those people who don't do those things, they recover faster. And he just quit because he realized, but this is not a solution, because the problem isn't the diseases, isn't the broken bones or whatever that can be solved by surgery. The reason is people literally messing up everything in every way. We're so ignorant. It's incredible. I'm speaking for myself totally. And this experience right now, I'm not going to lie, before coming here, because I'm still struggling with self-improvement, I had the same thoughts. I shouldn't do this. This isn't going to be fun. This was one of the most incredible, refreshing, fun, like what people going to think of me, all this bullshit. You know how it goes. The ignorant little degenerate fucking monkey in the back of your head just going, you shouldn't do this. What are people? What will people think? How will you look? You shouldn't. It's so uncomfortable to even talk about these things. Screw that. I ain't doing none of that. No, I felt uncomfortable before making this video. Yes, I wanted to just say, no, I'm just going to stay at home. I'm telling you right now, I'm so glad because talking, it isn't about views. It isn't about, I don't care about none of that. The best content you can make anyway is when you truly, authentically do what you want to do. And what I want to do today is talk about the stuff I talked about and talk about this book. Because this, I fell in love with this book, truly, deeply, completely, with my soul. No matter how difficult it may be, live by that which naturally is within you.
Speaks to the warrior. The path leads to the heart of the jungle. Follow the path, and you will find the answer